fans, welcome back to the channel. Again, those new to the channel, if you haven't already, contemplate slapping that subscribe button, dinging that bell for notifications so you don't miss any upcoming episodes, and supporting the channel, and comment down below. I'm running a vote as well, so make sure you subscribe so you can click on that vote and let us know what content you want to see. Any comments you put down below I will reply to, and if I like what you comment, I'll pin it to the video. In today's episode, what I'm going to be doing is a bit of a tutorial. Basically, as you all know, my G4, the bearings were wearing on it. I had a slight issue with it the other day and the tech drive packed up. I will show you what actually happened in the video. What I actually did was I took it apart and the belt had slipped off. So when I opened her up, I discovered why. I'll share that with you. So what I've done in the meantime is I've repacked my bearings with grease. You can repack the front one, that's quite easy, which I will show you in the video. The back one, it was a little bit more tricky. It's another steel bearing, but it's a metal seal, so you can't actually get it off. So I just found a way of getting a little bit of grease in there. I don't know how much has gone in there, but it has quietened that bearing down considerably. So what we'll do is we'll jump straight to it. Right, so what I've done is I've stripped my G4 down. If you're not sure how to strip your G4 down, there's plenty of videos that I've got on here for stripping down your Kirby to this stage. Now what it was, my bearings sounded like they were worn, but they're actually dry. Now this is obviously a sealed bearing with a metal thing in it, metal centre. They advise you not to try and take these apart. Now when I was spinning this, it was spinning quite dry, so I greased it, and I'll just show you quickly how I did it. I don't know how much grease has gone in there, but I did it for about 10 minutes and just kept spinning and spinning and spinning it. And all I did was I got some grease and I just put some on there, and I did this on the back edge as well. And then all I did was got my finger there and just kept spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning and pressing and pressing and pressing and spinning and pushing it in and in and in. And obviously there's a small enough crack for it to go in, for it to lubricate. So all I did was did that, and then got some more, and then just pushed it in and spin it just to get it in those bearings and rolling around. Okay, like so. And what you'll find is instead of it spinning really noisy, it will go quiet. Obviously I've already done this, but I just thought I'd quickly show you how to do it, because I'm waiting for bearings, new bearings to come from the States. So I just wanted my Kirby, my G4 to be running a bit sweeter for now, and I'll show you as for why. What I noticed and how I noticed it was my tech drive stopped working, and when I opened it up, my belt had dropped off. So once I've done all this, I'll quickly show you what it actually caused, because it was transferring a little bit of heat from there, not a lot, but just a bit, to the shaft, which was obviously heating up the bit that the belt goes on. Okay, so I've got plenty in there now, and that does spin quite nice. And what I did then as well, I'll just quickly show you. I try not to get any on your armature. I'm going to clean it all off anyway again, and I just put some on the back like so, just to try and get some to squeeze in the back. Alright, if you've got small fingers you're fine, but all I did was I got my little plastic thing and I just held that in there as I spun it, just to try and get more grease in there. Okay, and once you've done that, just get a rag and obviously clean all that excess grease off, because what you don't want is grease flying around outside or around the Kirby inside, because it's going to attract the dust, and obviously it's going to have adverse effects then. But just make sure that bearing is nice and clean on the outside. But when I tilt this apart, this was actually spinning, quite dry, but that now there's no noise whatsoever, so there is grease in there, so that has worked. Okay, now the next process, so we'll just put that to one side. was the front bearing. Now this I found quite easy to repack. This was actually, there was no grease in there whatsoever, but you can repack them. So we need some circlip removers. Now these are it's quite stiff to get these off. But if you do it, squeeze them together, it does come off. There we go. It's got the one half out. Let's get the other half out. That's out there. There we go, and that's out. Okay, and then all you do is get an X-Acto knife or a Stanley knife. Try not to damage that rubber bush that's in that rubber seal that's in there, or plastic seal, and you literally pull that out. And you've got to find a gap between the bearings. That's it. That's it. Now, I'm not saying this is there you go. I'm not saying this is an absolute fix, but it's a temporary fix as far as I'm concerned. And all I've done again, just put that to one side, so you can see now that's came out. And all I did, because I've already repacked this anyway, was just repacked. There was no grease in here, or minimal grease left after 25 years. So you can repack your front bearing with grease. Okay. And then you just got to wipe the excess off again. And you can put, all I did was pull that fit. Put the shaft in and just twisted it a bit just to get it to move around. It's not going fully in, it's just gripping it just to turn it. And as you can see, you can get some more grease in there now. So pack it in, and then all we do is you put a cover strip back on, so just make sure you don't damage it when you get it out, and just make sure that clips in, which it has. Excess grease. Okay, and then we'll just wipe that out like so. Okay, and then I'll just get a screwdriver and just put it in the centre, just to make sure there's none in that centre pin. There you go, get that out. And that is it. Then it's just a case of putting that circlip back in. And that was probably the hardest part, was the pressure on this is quite extensive. So you have to get that in and literally grab that and squeeze that together to slot it in. Okay, let it go, and it should slot in like so. Okay, just make sure that's in. So there's still some tension there, so that's not in fully. And that should be in, which it is. There you go, and that holds it back in place. Right, so like I said, I'd show you what I actually did, and it literally transferred heat to the centre pin, which actually melted the actual shaft. So luckily I fitted a new one on, but that's why my drive belt shot off, and that shot off yesterday, and I thought that's a bit weird. And when I took it apart, I couldn't figure out why this had actually melted. It wasn't catching on anything, but it had literally melted it. So yeah, it's worth re-greasing those bearings. As you can see, I mean, the heat that must have been coming from that for a while, I mean, it hasn't been running a long time, but the heat that was coming out of that front bearing, because there was no grease in there whatsoever, the bearings hadn't turned blue, but yeah, just that little bit of heat melted that. So it's well worth re-greasing your bearings as you go. I mean, I normally re-grease the front one. The back one I've never gone to do that, but I've actually done that one in this video, as you've seen. Just put a little bit of grease in that back bearing, but I'm waiting for my new back bearing to come, so yeah, that's just a pre-warning. If you don't grease your front bearing, which you can quite easily do by taking out that circlip, popping out that little seal, and just packing it with grease, and it'll stop that happening. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope the tutorial was really informative. It's just a little tip, something I did. It's not a permanent fixture. You can do it yearly to maintain your machine if you want. It was just my machine's 25 years old, so I just thought I'd do it, and while I'm waiting for these bearings to come from the States. And I found it made it run a lot quieter and a lot freer. And obviously, it's not going to melt it's not going to obviously disperse any heat now that it was dispersing to make the tech drive belt slip off. Okay, so again, those of you new to the channel, if you haven't already, contemplate slapping that subscribe button, make me feel good, you won't feel bad, and ding that bell for notifications, and comment down below. Make sure you give us a big thumbs up as well if you like the video, and I'll see you in the next one.